Xiao Jitong stated, Mr. Fu guessed right. There are around 102 people under the lake. 4 of them are Nanjing players while the remaining 98 are stowaways and other Nanjing players. An hour ago, our strategy group and Nanjing group met at the gate of the park. After a pause, he added, I arranged it. We split 2 ways. One team went to the west to check the garbage disposal stations while the other team went to the east. We finally gathered here to head to the Xinjiao garbage disposal station. It is because there will certainly be a fierce fight. It is natural for someone to be ambushing near every garbage disposal station. Tang Mo talked about what he and Fu Wenduo encountered at Xinjiao. There were at least 50 people waiting in the high buildings near the garbage disposal station. There were 50 or 60 people who fired at us. Xiao Jitong said, that's why we arranged to meet in advance. I didn't think that when we came to Sunwu Lake to inspect the last garbage disposal station, there would already be 3 teams of stowaways waiting to ambush here. If we encountered normal stowaways, they wouldn't rush towards us when they saw we had more people. But these stowaways were different. They came from the same city and seemed to know each other for a long time. It is a huge organization. So we fought with them here. Xiao Jitong gestured to the approximate area. On this island, there were 29 stowaways and we have 22 people. They were strong but we had the upper hand. Fu Wenzheng clearing the game was completely an accident. Without the garbage's gaze, the 2 groups would safely leave here after defeating the stowaways. However, that didn't happen. Once the Black Tower notified everyone of Fu Wenzheng clearing the game, more than 60% of the stowaways in Nanjing started to look for him. The stowaways found him in the vicinity of Sunwu district. Then there was a fierce battle in the darkness. Tang Mo stood on the soft soil and imagined the type of fighting that happened here half an hour ago. In any case, the result of the battle was that the Nanjing group lost 4 elites and more than 90 players were forever buried at the bottom of the lake. Tang Mo closed his eyes and thought, you just said that it isn't only stowaways, but also players in Nanjing? Why did they attack you? There are no benefits for them. Xiao Jitong listened to Tang Mo's words and smiled. Tang Mo looked at his expression and stayed silent. He was aware of what happened. After a moment, he asked, how many badges have you collected now? Xiao Jitong replied, we have a total of 156 badges. Excluding the set that Xiao Sheng used, we only have 8 complete sets. Tang Mo was silent and no longer spoke. The stowaways attacked the members of the Nanjing group because they just experienced a battle and were injured. The stowaways wanted to catch Fu Wenzheng and ask him the correct way to clear the game. At the same time, killing the members of the Nanjing group would get their badges. They killed countless people in Nanjing. In their hearts, the players in Nanjing had a low level and the stowaways didn't take the Nanjing players seriously. This was the reason why the stowaways attacked the Nanjing group. What about the other players in Nanjing? Tang Mo looked behind Xiao Jitong. The young woman always with Chai Rong had a cold expression and was walking around healing her teammates. On the narrow island, the Nanjing group and strategy group players lay quietly on the ground, most of them seriously injured. Killing them could get a lot of badges. There were only 3 hours left until the end of the game, so why not take a chance if they didn't have a full set of badges? There were many people attacking the Nanjing group. They just needed to follow the crowd and steal the badges, this wasn't a big deal. It was the only opportunity for ordinary Nanjing players. They alone couldn't beat the Nanjing group. There was only the slightest hope with the stowaways. Xiao Jitong didn't talk about this matter and Xiao Jitong didn't ask again. Fu Wenduo looked down at his cousin. Look for a place to hide. Don't appear again for the next 3 hours. Fu Wenzheng nodded. He had been planning to do the same thing. A minute later, the Black Tower's clear voice was heard again. The third last batch of rabbit heads appeared. Tang Mo looked at Xiao Jitong and said, you have gathered 8 sets of surprise but you have a total of 18 people. You need 10 more sets. We have 1 set of surprise. Let's meet up 2 hours later at the Xinjiao garbage disposal station. Xiao Jitong smiled and nodded. Okay. Tang Mo was about to leave when a voice was suddenly heard, Tang Mo, is the surprise really the batch? Tang Mo paused and he turned to look at Xiao Jitong. It was very dark and Xiao Jitong was standing under the shade of a tree, making people unable to see his face. Tang Mo vaguely felt that he was smiling but smiling in this situation was abnormal. Tang Mo thought about it and asked, what do you think it is? I don't know. I don't know either. In the darkness, the 2 people looked at each other. 3 seconds later, Tang Mo turned and left. Fu Wenzheng followed his brother and quickly walked away. The Nanjing group members were injured and unable to take care of Fu Wenzheng. Thus, Fu Wenduo took him away from Sunwu Lake Park towards an old-fashioned community. He checked closely and placed the child in a house without any people. Fu Wenduo spoke coldly, before the game is over, don't come out. Wait for me to come to you. Fu Wenzheng nodded. Tang Mo and Fu Wenduo still had 1 eye badge to collect. They settled Fu Wenzheng and left the community. The child stood at the window and watched Fu Wenduo and Tang Mo leave. After confirming that the 2 people left through the door of the community, Fu Wenzheng walked into the house, locked all the doors and windows and pulled down the curtain. He sat on the couch, nervously watching the ground before his body started to tremble. A minute later, a crying voice filled the room. The 12-year-old boy finally couldn't help crying. He cried for a few minutes before wiping his tears. He closed his eyes and seemed to return to an hour ago. At that time, countless players attacked the island. They wanted to catch him, not just to learn about clearing the game from his mouth. What they really wanted was badges. It took only one reason for a fierce battle to start. Fu Wenzheng knew all these things. Nanjing was very stable but the world outside wasn't peaceful. Killing was normal and it was inevitable that familiar teammates would die before his eyes. However, he still owes us props. The hoarse and uncomfortable voice echoed in the room. 5 minutes later, Fu Wenzheng wiped all his tears and took out his props in preparation for someone attacking. He walked coldly into the kitchen and took a few knives. Then he returned to the living room and calmly laid traps. If someone really found him here then he could escape. At the same time, Suanmu Lake Park Chai Rong's injury was heavy but his physical fitness was amazing. He woke up earlier than the other 3 members of the Nanjing group who were seriously injured. Once he woke up, he headed to the members still left in the park. Xiao Jitong said, "There is a garbage disposal station here and it is very dangerous. Now that a new batch of rabbit heads will appear, we will kill the rabbit heads for the badge. The wounded people will find places to hide while the rest will go with me to find the badges." Chai Rong's eyes widened and he asked, "You want me to find a place to hide?" Xiao Jitong glanced at him and smiled, "Why not? Captain Chai, it will be completely stupid for you to fight with us with your wounded body." Chai Rong wanted to refute it but Xiao Jitong was telling the truth. He suppressed his feelings and said, "I will regain my combat effectiveness soon." "Will 2 hours be considered soon?" Chai Rong shouted, "You." Xiao Jitong placed a hand on his shoulder. "Okay, we will wait for you in Xinjia Yikao in 2 hours. Those who are injured need to quickly find a place to hide and not bother us. Xiao Jiao, go with them. We will use a prop to communicate. Wait for Chai Rong to regain his fighting power. Then bring him over with Lin Rong." The blonde boy nodded repeatedly. Chai Rong wanted to say something else but the people Xiao Jitong arranged dragged him away. There were 4 members of the Nanjing group who couldn't continue due to their injuries. Xiao Jitong divided the remaining 12 people into 2 groups to look for the badges separately. As they were leaving the island, a member of the Nanjing group couldn't help saying, "Captain Xiao, earlier we were in a hurry and pushed old Li's body and the others into the water. Let's pull them out. We can at least dig a hole and bury them well." Xiao Jitong turned around and asked, "Do we have time?" The member was stunned. Xiao Jitong gave a cold smile. "I didn't agree with Chai Rong's thoughts a long time ago but he was strong enough to hold everything. Now the dead is dead. Is there a difference between the water or the earth?" The members of the Nanjing group were stunned. "How do you, is there a difference?" Xiao Jitong's cold voice caused everyone to close their mouths. Ning Ning held the crossbow and looked at the other people coldly. Xiao Jitong's gaze swept through the surviving players. Finally he said, "They didn't want to be buried in dirt. For them, they are dead. There is no distinction between lying in the dirt or in the water. Even if you bury them well, they are still dead. Their deaths are telling." Captain Chai, does he think he is the Black Tower that he can control Nanjing? Xiao Jitong hadn't said too much when Chai Rong was here. The Nanjing members who listened to him wanted to defend their captain but they couldn't say a word. How stupid was Chai Rong? From the moment they met, Xiao Jitong told everyone, "Captain Chai of the Nanjing team is stupid and can only fight." The stupidest thing that this man did was to be self-righteous and shelter everyone in this city for 3 months. Dark clouds blocked the vast sky. Xiao Jitong stood in the cold wind and looked at the group of most powerful players in Nanjing. 3 months ago, the strong reserve was full of enthusiasm and wanted to protect the city with their own strength. 3 months later, the people sheltered by him mixed in with the stowaways and attacked him in order to snatch his badges. Xiao Jitong closed his eyes and his lips slowly curved. He opened his mouth again, only he was scolding himself, not Chai Rong. "He isn't stupid, I'm stupid." After Fu Wenzheng passed the game, the atmosphere in Nanjing became more explosive. Tang Mo and Fu Wenduo encountered 4 players while trying to obtain badges. The rabbit heads had increased in strength and they ran extremely fast. It is easier to get badges from players than the rabbit heads. Tang Mo found an abandoned electrical store to stay in and looked at Fu Wenduo. Everyone has already discovered this fact. If we encounter players, they probably don't want to steal badges. They want to kill us and then take our badges. Fu Wenduo spoke up. Xiao Jitong said that the badges can be obtained from rabbit heads but the probability is very low. Tang Mo pondered on it and was about to speak when there was a loud sound not far away. The 2 men immediately turned to look. They saw that a rabbit head had accidentally hit a wall and fell to the ground. It was dizzy as it got up and then its eyes fell on Tang Mo and Fu Wenduo. The rabbit head screamed, "Jiji! Go!" Tang Mo and Fu Wenduo immediately attacked. The sound of fierce fighting was heard from every corner of Nanjing. Similarly, in the other 9 game areas of China, blood stained the earth and bodies lying on the road lost their temperature. The players who killed them walked over and took away the collected badges and the new badge that fell with their deaths, before embarking on a journey to collect the badges again. In 2 hours, the last batch of rabbit heads appeared. Tang Mo killed a female player trying to ambush him outside the store. He stepped forward and took out 6 badges from the other person's pocket. Tang Mo saw the letter on the second badge and was slightly stunned. He turned to look at Fu Wenduo and waved the badge with a smile. "It is an I." Fu Wenduo looked at the letter on the badge and smiled. "There is less than an hour left." Tang Mo said, "Yes, there is less than an hour left. Come on, it is time to meet up with Xiao Jitong. Xinjia Yikao, Nanjing." The Trojan horse could only be used once every 3 days. This time, Tang Mo couldn't use the horse to find Xiao Jitong. In the night, the 2 people quickly walked into a shopping mall. Tang Mo entered the cosmetics counter in the shopping mall. He explored the counter and touched something 1 minute later. Tang Mo said, Xiao Jitong's group has already arrived. They are on the second floor. Tang Mo released his hand and saw that he had just been touching two curved pentagrams. The two people entered the fire stairs and hurriedly walked to the second floor. As they walked up the stairs, Fu Wenduo knocked on the wall 3 times. 3 knocks came from the other side of the fire stairs and Tang Mo pushed the door open. Xiao Jitong and the others were already waiting inside. Xiao Jitong saw Tang Mo and Fu Wenduo and asked, "How is Xiao Sheng?" Fu Wenduo replied, "He is in a safe place. I'll find him after the game is over." Xiao Jitong heard this and smiled, "You have gathered the badges." Tang Mo didn't deny it and asked in return, "What about you?" If they merely killed the rabbit heads, it would be impossible to gather 10 eye badges. Tang Mo admitted that his luck was poor. He and Fu Wenduo had gathered badges for 11 hours and only collected 2 eye badges. Perhaps it was due to Fu Wenduo's luck that they could even find 2 badges. But Xiao Jitong's luck wasn't that good. 2 hours ago, they only had 8 eye badges. Xiao Jitong said, "We have them all. There is even an extra set." The answer was unexpected. The surprised Tang Mo asked, "You collected all of them?" Xiao Jitong smiled and nodded. Tang Mo's lip opened as he guessed what happened. He turned to look at Fu Wenduo and Fu Wenduo was looking back at him. The two people were silent as they both guessed how Xiao Jitong had found 11 eye badges in 2 hours. In any case, things had developed like this and they all had a full set of surprise badges. Fu Wensheng cleared the game so they knew that putting the surprise badges into the yellow light at the door of the garbage disposal station would definitely pass the game. The top priority was, "How do we get in?" Tang Mo asked. Xiao Jitong opened a huge map of Nanjing. Tang Mo looked intently and found that the map was very meticulous. Every street near Xinjiaikao was drawn, the height of each building was even marked as well as the distance between buildings. In the middle of a criss-crossing road was a red pentagram, which was the location of the Qinhua District Garbage Disposal Station. Xiao Jitong pointed to the map. "I chose this place because Ning Ning and I often go to the Black Tower, so it is the area we are most familiar with. There is no doubt that among Nanjing's 11 garbage disposal stations, the place with the most players waiting to ambush is the Qinhua District next to Xinjiaikao. It was the place with the largest flow of people in Nanjing before the earth went online. At the same time, this is the place we are most familiar with." Rather than facing less enemies, Xiao Jitong chose to believe in himself. His group's strength was more important than the strength of the enemy. Here, here, and here, Xiao Jitong pointed to 7 places. They are the easiest locations for an ambush. This office building is located 150 meters away from the garbage disposal station. If they ambush from the 20th floor of this building, Xiao Jitong quickly found 3 of the most reasonable spots. The last hour will be a fierce battle. Xiao Jitong said, "After 1 hour, people will no longer be able to enter the garbage disposal station and would be forced into the hard mode of the tower attack game. Players from all over the city will gather here because they will have to enter the garbage disposal station. There is still the last batch of rabbit heads but they don't matter. Killing players is the easiest way to grab a badge. In the last 10 minutes, the players waiting in ambush will rush in the garbage disposal station. We can't wait until then. The situation will be chaotic and it will be more difficult to enter the garbage disposal station." Tang Mo pointed to the west road. "We will enter from this side." Xiao Jitong looked at him and nodded. "Okay, Ning Ning and I will go from the middle road while Chai Rong and the Nanjing group will enter from the east road. 3 teams entering at the same time can distract their attention and disperse their strength." Tang Mo wasn't very good at this aspect. He looked at Fu Wenduo and asked directly, "What should we do?" Xiao Jitong only just remembered Fu Wenduo's identity. None of the people present were more qualified than Fu Wenduo to express an opinion on the group battle plan. Fu Wenduo looked down at the whole map. His gaze rested on every marked point on the map, looking at the height and distance of each building in detail. Finally, his eyes fell on a tall building in the far north. He spoke in a calm voice, "This building is the tallest. From the upstairs, you can completely look down at the entire garbage disposal station. This location is very suitable for a ranged attack. Among all the buildings, this place is likely to have the most number of players waiting to ambush." Fu Wenduo's fingers slid over 3 buildings near the garbage disposal station. These 3 places are very close to the building. If you want to climb to the top of the building in the north, you can go from the first building to the second building and finally the third building. The 3 of us are coming from the south, east, and west, leaving only the north alone. This building must have a lot of players ambushing so we can't go from the north. Then before we enter the garbage disposal station, we must blow up this building." Tang Mo was stunned but he quickly understood Fu Wenduo's meaning. "A diversion." Fu Wenduo smiled, "To be exact, it is making a noise in the north to attack in the south, east, and west." Tang Mo was busy thinking about the feasibility of this plan and didn't notice that Fu Wenduo had once again made a cold joke. Fu Wenduo didn't care and just raised an eyebrow. Tang Mo soon said, "Yes. These 3 buildings can be used as a springboard to blow up the building in the north. Most players waiting to ambush will have some strength and won't die. However, they will think we are coming from the north and everyone will head to the north. At this time, we will immediately rush from the other 3 directions." Xiao Jitong agreed. "Okay, Xiao Qiao has a massive explosion prop." The blonde boy hurriedly took out a bowl of spaghetti and handed it to Xiao Jitong. "Captain." Xiao Jitong took the spaghetti and looked at Tang Mo and Fu Wenduo. "There is only one problem, who will go?" "I'll go." 4 people spoke at the same time. Ning Ning and Chai Rong looked at Tang Mo and Fu Wenduo, while Xiao Jitong also narrowed his eyes. He said, "You two are powerful. There is no problem for you to go by the west road alone. But if one of you goes to blow up the building, there will be only one person left on the west side. It isn't appropriate. Let Ning Ning go. She is very fast. Once she uses the prop to blow up the building, she can escape." Chai Rong said, "I am also fast and very strong. Ning Ning won't be able to escape if she is surrounded by people." Ning Ning stated coldly, "I can escape." Chai Rong asked, "Ning Ning, did you forget how I won when we fought last month?" A trace of anger flashed on Ning Ning's cold face. She scoffed and decided not to pay attention to this male. Xiao Jitong said, "Then let Chai Rong go." "No, I'll go." Xiao Jitong looked with confusion at Tang Mo. Tang Mo explained, "I'm not sure if my speed is faster than Ning Ning and my strength isn't higher than Captain Chai. But, I have a prop. This prop allows me to ignore gravity and freely walk on any plane." Xiao Jitong's eyes widened and he immediately understood. Then he had a thought, "But if you go, there is only one person on the west road." Tang Mo explained, "I need a minute to blow up that building." He can hold on for that long. Fu Wenduo was standing behind Tang Mo. Once he heard this, he looked into the young man's eyes. He didn't say anything yet. Tang Mo decided everything for him. This feeling was a bit interesting. Fu Wenduo's lips curved and he didn't say anything. Thus, it was decided. Xiao Jitong shared the Nanjing strategy group's props with everyone and finally decided on a combat plan. He brought the spaghetti to Tang Mo and looked at him seriously, "Survive. I will give this to you." Tang Mo looked at the function of the prop before putting it in his pocket. Prop, a bowl of spaghetti with a dog's head on the side. Owner, Edward George. Quality, excellent level, 1 attack, strong function, throw this bowl of spaghetti and there will be an explosion. The power of the explosion is equivalent to an Italian 1897 style 75mm cannon. Restrictions, disposable item. Remark, someone once forgot to add a dog's head. Then he ate the spaghetti and killed himself. After taking the spaghetti, the Tang Mo duo separated from the others and headed to the alley behind the mall. The mall was located to the south of the garbage disposal station. Tang Mo and Fu Wenduo first went to the east, then Tang Mo headed towards the tallest building in the north. Tang Mo watched it while Fu Wenduo went to the hidden point, ready to attack. Tang Mo observed the distance between the 3 high-rise buildings and prepared to depart. He was about to leave when a hand suddenly grabbed his left wrist. Tang Mo turned with an astonished expression. Fu Wenduo held his wrist and pulled him back. At the same time, his other hand reached into Tang Mo's right pocket and took out the bowl of spaghetti. Tang Mo asked, "Fu Wenduo." Fu Wenduo looked at Tang Mo with a deep gaze. "You aren't the only one with the shoes. I will blow it up so you wait here to attack." Tang Mo frowned. He wanted to go because apart from his shoes, he felt he could resolve a variety of unexpected situations with his abilities. The person left behind needed to endure for 1 minute and wait for the other person to come back. Fu Wenduo was very powerful and the most dangerous part of the plan was to blow up the building. However, based on individual combat capability, he was obviously far better than Tang Mo. Many thoughts flashed in Tang Mo's heart. He didn't speak as he listened to a low male voice say, "1 minute, can't you endure?" Tang Mo looked up at Fu Wenduo with surprise. "I'll come back soon." Fu Wenduo paused before taking out a gun and handing it over. "I will give this to you. Don't worry. There are many people waiting to ambush here." Tang Mo looked at the gun for a moment. There were many people waiting to ambush here. Thus, Tang Mo could hit someone with the gun. The next moment, Tang Mo's eyelids twitched. He grabbed the gun. "Okay, go quickly and try to come back early." Tang Mo took the gun and walked away. Fu Wenduo looked at his decisive figure and raised a brow. He smiled before his figure disappeared into the darkness, heading towards the tallest building in the north. 5 minutes later, 4:50 a.m. on March 6. There was a violent explosion and the ground shook. Flames could be seen. In Xinjiao, Nanjing, many players hiding in the darkness stood up in horror, looking at the skyscraper in the north. Countless panicked players were escaping from that building. They screamed and jumped from upstairs. At this time, someone shouted, "Fuck, it is that man." The group looked up and saw a black figure jumping off the rooftop onto the roof of the building next door. An intense explosion rang through the entire Xinjiao business district. The players near the explosion point saw the situation and rushed angrily at the man who blew up the high building. The people lying in ambush rushed to the north, wanting to catch fish in troubled waters. At the same time, 3 teams rushed out from the south, east, and west towards the central garbage disposal station. By the time someone spotted the sneak attack from 3 sides, Xiao Jitong rushed from the south and had already reached the central garbage disposal station. Ning Ning rushed straight to the light, placing 8 badges into the light in front of the garbage disposal station. Someone shouted, "Damn! People are coming here." The players rushing to the north quickly ran back. Tang Mo didn't have Ning Ning's good luck. He had just gone halfway when the players waiting in the north found him. No one expected that there weren't many players ambushing in the west, but due to the wide open view, they could completely see the scene in the north. When Fu Wenduo jumped down, they found that there was only 1 player. Less than half the players were attracted by the explosion and the rest remained behind. Whoosh! A small arrow flew through the air. Tang Mo bent over to avoid this arrow, followed by dense gunfire. Tang Mo's face darkened and he swore, "What happened?" He opened the small parasol and blocked the terrible rain of bullets. However, Countless props headed towards him. Tang Mo had to constantly wave the small parasol to block all types of attacks while trying to find a place to hide. A minute quickly passed. Tang Mo was still on the defensive and a strange and reasonable idea flashed through his heart. Fu Wenduo was a bastard liar. The author has something to say. Tang, you said you would definitely come back in a minute. Damn. Old Fu, I like it when you call me a liar. Ambiguous smile. Tang, Fu Wensheng, bring me my spaghetti. Xiao Fu? Why is it me? Added a KO5 for the people asking for an alternative to Patreon. You can also join my Discord channel to chat with fellow readers about the novels.